Hello and welcome back to my channel, Men's with Mare. Okay, you all, I am going to be doing Anti-Hero today. I'm going to be reviewing it and analyzing it. I have heard it before. I'm sorry that it's taken me so long. I'm really weird about new music. When new music comes out, I tend to shy away from it and I want to hear all the other songs on the album. I don't know. That's why it took me so long. I apologize. I've not really dug into the lyrics. So even though this isn't a first time reaction, this is definitely the time where I am digging into the lyrics and really figuring out what message she's getting across to all of us. All right, so jump right on into it. I have this thing where I get older, but just never wiser. Midnights become my afternoons. Okay, we all know I like to stop a lot, but let's think about that first lyric thing where she gets older but never wiser. That really does remind me of The Archer, which I have done and I just haven't posted it for you all. I will post that soon because it has been requested. She says, I never grow up, it's getting so old. And that reminds me of I have this thing where I get older but never wiser. So she's saying she's getting older, but she's not evolving in the way that she feels as if she should. And then she talks about how her midnights become her afternoon. She's in a profession that leans toward the unconventional hours. So if she is in the recording studio recording all night, she would sleep and then midnights would be her afternoon because she'd be waking up, around 5 p.m. when everybody is getting off of work, which has to be really, really strange. It'd be really hard to connect with people outside of that music industry bubble, which also would contribute to isolation and those type of feelings. Okay, let's keep going. When my depression works the graveyard shift all of the people I've ghosted stand there in the room. So when she is awoken by her depression, all the people that she has ghosted or that she has just went MIA on, they're all there. They are coming back to haunt her. They're standing there in the room and it sounds as if she's reliving some type of trauma during her depression or during the middle of the night. I really like this. It feels as if she's being so vulnerable and raw with us all, and we can definitely relate to that. I should not be left to my own devices. They come with prices and vices. I end up in crisis. Tale as old as time. Oh gosh, tale as old as time. I like that saying. That makes me think of the song for Beauty and the Beast. And we all know about the problematic dynamics in Beauty and the Beast, even though I loved it as a kid and then I get older, I'm like, oh, this is kind of messed up. The Beast was keeping her captive and then she had to fall in love with him and then that turned him back to a man. It's just, there's a lot. There's a lot there. So when she says that she shouldn't be left to her own devices, that she can't even trust herself to make the right decisions for herself, she shouldn't be left to her own devices because they end up with prices. She can't make decisions on her own without them costing her something. And then this leads to her ending up in crisis. So it's just a pattern that she is picking up on that she's doing, that she's going to end up in crisis and things are going to be worse if she listens to herself or acts on her own emotions, which she's questioning whether she can even trust herself.
Stop, please.
I wake up screaming from dreaming. One day I'll watch as you're leaving, 'cause you got tired of my scheming for the last time.
Oh man, she's pretty hard on herself here. She's not looking at herself in a positive light. She's looking at herself as a schemer, and that she will wake up screaming from nightmares of the person that she loves the most leaving her because they are looking at her or viewing her as a schemer. So I think that she's almost wondering, am I going to do this to myself? Am I going to send another person packing with the choices that I make that aren't always the best for me and that end up in crisis? And will this person get sick of it because they'll see it as scheming? Yeah.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
Where do I begin? There's so much in that chorus. It's unbelievable. I guess we'll start from the beginning and then work our way backward. I also feel as if just so many things that are influenced by British culture or British, maybe I'm just probably imagining this. I don't know. Because when I think of tea time, I either think of golfing, which isn't necessarily British, I don't think, but I think of tea time, like afternoon tea. So tea time is usually with friends or family, which means that it's much deeper emotionally and psychologically than it would be with people that you're just like gossiping with at maybe a party. And everybody's agreeing that she's the problem. And that's because they're sitting around when it's tea time and they're gossiping about things, which actually makes me feel that she should then feel the opposite, because if it's just gossip around tea time, it probably doesn't warrant as much blame as she's putting on herself. Another British thing is that the gossip mags over in Britain are either called The Sun or The Mirror. And I find that really funny that she's also using this here. But she's saying, I'll stare directly at the sun. And you know, when you stare directly at the sun, it burns your eyes and you're like kind of blind. You can't see very well and it's all black. It's going to end up hurting you more. You're like, when you stare directly at the sun, and it's somebody avoiding looking at themselves directly in the mirror, which means looking at themselves clearly. So instead of really facing herself, she'll look elsewhere. And that will probably do her more harm, because looking directly into the sun will hurt your eyes and make you blind to things. So she's being really vulnerable and honest and introspective, I feel, here. And then when she talks about it must be exhausting rooting for the anti-hero, I personally love anti-heroes. Love them in literature, on TV. So an anti-hero is typically somebody who lacks the typical traits of a hero, like morality or a clear interest really in rules. They're definitely not the villains. They're not the opposite of a hero. They are very hero-like because you have reasons to cheer them on, despite the fact that they might have some very complex or questionable attributes. They may have some really complex motivation and questionable actions. So it's not like Superman, who does all the right things for the right reason. It's something a little bit more compelling. Someone who does the right things, but only sometimes for the right reasons. Some of the anti-heroes that I love, I think in television, Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. My favorite would be Walter White, aka Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. Walter is terminally ill, and he's looking at his criminal activity as just being for his family. It's a means to end to provide for his family once he's dead, because he's terminally ill. And that's his motivation at the start, and I think a lot of us could get behind that. He then also does things like, I don't know, letting his partner's girlfriend choke to death, and he murders people. So you kind of look at from the beginning, his nemesis really is cancer. So cancer is like the antagonist to Walter White, and he uses his position in a lot of ways to get rid of other people that are worse than him or perceived to be worse than him. Some more examples I would like to bring up would be, what's her name? Annalise from How to Get Away with Murder, Sherlock Holmes. That's just a few of them that come to mind. So she's saying that it must be exhausting to root for her because she is the anti-hero. It sounds like that's how she views herself. And I can see that because in a recent interview, I know that she talked about the fact that some radio stations are now only playing the Taylor version of the songs. Ultimately, that was for her. Like that's why she did it, was for her own justice, and wasn't necessarily expecting other people to then be rooting for her or love her for that. And also think about her fighting for streaming services. People could be viewing it like she is someone who's just how it would benefit her if she got paid for the streaming services. But it does help her friends like Chaim, I know, weren't making very much money off of Spotify in the very beginning, and she helped to make that happen. There's a part of her that is absolutely doing it for the underdog, but a lot of people are seeing it just as her doing it for herself. And maybe she's even perceiving herself as doing it for herself. I also want to point out here, though, that this is giving me vibes of someone who has dealt with narcissistic abuse, because she is looking at herself as a problem. True narcissists will not say that they're the problem, ever. They'll do everything to deflect from that, actually. So I feel as if she has been manipulated by either the media or people that she has built her life around that have made her think that she's actually always the problem, and that she keeps making the same mistakes and that she keeps doing it over and over again, when really it does feel like there's some type of anxiety there where she's afraid she's going to be left, a type of trauma bonded anxiety. And that typically happens when you keep making the same mistakes, or somebody keeps pointing that out, that you're actually the one causing the mistakes. That then contributes to your sense of identity and question who you are and what you do, what your real reasons are for doing it. It's pretty bad. So anyways, there's some vibes there for sure. Okay, let's keep going.
Sometimes I feel like everybody is a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill.
Okay, if you all are 30 Rock fans, you know what this is from. This is from the episode where I forget her name, who, she's older, but she dresses up still and talks like in a little baby voice. And she's just like doing everything for the attention of the male gaze. And Tina Fey is like, I hate women like you. Stop doing that. And she's like, but I like to be this way. And it kind of goes through the expectations sometimes for women to still believe that in order to be desired, they need to be babyfied or young. There's all the pressures with anti-aging skin creams and all of these messages that we should be young and that we're only desired when we stay young. I don't know if that's exactly what she's saying about herself, but that's what I took it as. But she's saying that, everyone else is a sexy baby, like can pull it off, and she's just this monster on the hill. It can also be the way that she doesn't just sit back and sit pretty. She does advocate for herself. She does speak out about things. She's said that she feels as if she's like the resident loud person. That's kind of what I hear.
Too big to hang out, slowly lurching toward your favorite city, pierced through the heart but never killed.
So I think she sees herself as this just big monster that doesn't go away, who's not able to hang out, and they like try to kill her, but they're not able to.
Did you hear my covert narcissism, like disguises altruism, like some kind of consciousness?
Well, okay. I that went really fast, and I didn't, I think, pick up on it before. So covert narcissism, did you hear my covert narcissism? So she's accusing herself as having the qualities of that. A covert narcissist is typically someone who they are more self-loathing and self-deprecating. They can tend to be more on the depressed side instead of an overt narcissist who is very grandiose, has a very inflated sense of self-worth, which so does a covert narcissist, but they don't express themselves in the same way. They're really hard sometimes to detect. She's saying that she disguises it as altruism. So she's talking about how it'll appear to other people that she's altruistic, that she's doing it for the sake of other people, but it's really just covert narcissism, like a congressman. A lot of times people in politics are really narcissistic, actually. They will play on the fact that they're an average Joe and they're just like the people, but then once they get into the room with lobbyists, then they will actually go against all the things that they said that they were going to do for the underdogs or for the people that actually voted them in office. I feel as if people have accused her of this as doing good things for other people just to get attention and to be viewed as altruistic, when I actually don't think that was her intention. And what comes to mind and what has stuck out to me was when Demi Lovato put her down. And I know so many of you have wanted me to review and react to a lot of her songs. And as much as I love Skyscraper and I think she has a beautiful voice, I'm just a little resistant because she's rubbed me the wrong way a couple times. But I do believe that people can evolve and they can change. I do think John Mayer can evolve and change, FYI, in case anybody who has ripped me about him hear this. I think everybody needs to keep in mind context of like how I was reviewing certain songs about that man. Anyways, but I remember that when Kesha was going through her legal battles with her old producer, who she alleged had raped her, Taylor donated $250,000 to her legal fund. And Taylor never spoke about it, but it was actually Kesha's mother who talked about it and put it out there for everybody and thanked Taylor in a public way. And I remember Demi was the one who had said like, okay, well, if you really want to show support, then you should speak out about it. And I totally disagreed. I'm like, okay, well, Taylor could speak out being like, I'm on Kesha's side, but the real way to show that you support someone is to put the money behind it and help them legally to fight something that, they might lose all of their money trying to fight. I think that Demi said if women use women empowerment or feminism to further their brands without actually being the ones to have the uncomfortable conversations, then that's a problem. Like, people need to get their hands dirty. So she was saying that toward Taylor. So Demi was really just like, you need to speak out about it, And the fact of the matter is, first of all, Taylor can do whatever she wants. And second, sometimes speaking out about it isn't going to work. Sometimes money talks. So that might be one of the things that she's referencing, where if she does anything that's charitable for anyone, it's perceived as her just wanting to get attention and be perceived as a really good person or charitable person. So I actually don't think that Taylor is a narcissist. I think that she is questioning whether she is all the time, which a lot of people of narcissistic abuse do, because they're so fearful that they're actually conceited and full of themselves and wondering, trying to analyze analyze themselves like, am I actually like that? Am I doing this for the right reasons? Am I a narcissist? I think the fact that she's just reflecting on this and wondering about it shows that she's not. Let's keep going.
I wake up screaming from dreaming. One day I'll watch as you're leaving, and life will lose all its meaning for the last time. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. At tea time, everybody agrees. I stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero. I have this dream, my daughter-in-law kills me for the money. She thinks I left them in the will. The family gathers around and reads it, and then someone screams out, she's laughing up at us from hell.
Hi, mommy's just working. Hi, sweetie. Can you give me a minute? Mommy's almost done. Okay?
1 more minute.
This just shows that Taylor has a really hard time trusting people, that she's maybe not even having kids because she's so afraid that her child or whoever they would marry would turn on her and end up killing her for her money. I think that this is a result of what happened to her, where Scott Borchetta was like her father and sold her masters out from under her to Scooter Braun, just betraying her. So she's like, is this person it's one of like a deep-rooted fear that if she's having these nightmares, she's so afraid that she's gonna be betrayed by the people that she loves. That probably contributes to wanting to keep a small circle and not allow certain people in because of it. Wow.
It's me. I'm the problem. It's me. It's me. I'm the problem.
Wait a second. Do you ever stop and think like, okay, all this stuff keeps happening to me. I need to look at myself, look at it like, who is the common denominator in this situation? And I think she's saying, it's me, everybody. Hi, it's me. She's trying to figure out like, if all of this keeps happening to me, I must be the problem. But there also is the other side where people will judge you and pick you apart no matter what you do. And no matter how nice you are or how genuine you are, you truly can't win. And then on the other side of it, you can look at the fact that if you are in a power position, or if you're a woman in music and in a position that she's in, it's going to attract a lot of narcissists. I think she has in one of her songs where she was like, for every lie I tell them, they tell me 3. So I think she's acknowledging that her power and her charisma and her talent attracts narcissists, actually, because when they're around people of power, it makes them feel more powerful, and they almost can feel as if that you are an extension of them. And so if you're doing great things, then they're great as well. So she really is probably somewhat of a magnet for these type of people. So that's why I feel like there's like a hint of narcissistic abuse, that she's been a victim of it, I think for sure. Okay.
It's me. Hi. Everybody agrees.
That actually sounds really sad. But I do feel like that she does this kind of sounds like a hissing noise of a snake. And that goes back to Reputation, the album that was really in response to being somewhat canceled, and that everybody agrees she's the one who's wrong. You know, that she's the snake.
It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. Times. Everybody agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. It must be exhausting, always rooting for the anti-hero.
Wow, that was really good. There's a lot in there, a lot of psychology terms, and I think it's really introspective, and it's something to really think about. I think she's bringing awareness around a lot of these topics and how things that you do, how it's perceived by other people. And I do love an anti-hero. I really do. So I'm all for it, Taylor. All right, let me know what you all think. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all again very soon. All right, bye-bye. See ya.